Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you all to International Affairs being broadcasted from the Gulshan studio of SATV. I am, of course, your host Shamsul Alam Panto, and before I discuss all the topics today, I want to introduce all my panelists. Here in the studio, I have Mr. Ali Ahmed, who is, of course, a former member customs for the National Board of Revenue. He's, of course, a bureaucrat as well. I welcome you onto the program after a long hiatus. It's good to see you, sir. And we shall be picking up regarding the world situation where you left off last time. Alongside, we will have Norman Floyd Barnes, our geopolitical correspondent situated in Washington, District of Columbia. I want to begin the discussion with you, Norman. Much of the discussion between U.S. and the Iran is supposedly to take place today. Misinterpretations of the document, the Memorandum of Understanding, the Islamabad MOU, is the document that the two sides are trying to see if it will come to any kind of fruition. On the other side, we also see that the NATO summit is going to be taking place in Ankara, Turkey, early in July. Given this situation, U.S. President Donald Trump's telling directly to gasoline retailers that they must get their prices down immediately, and warned that there will be big problems ahead if they did not do so. I want to pass the mantle to you, Norman. What are some of the updates that you see coming ahead in Washington? A very good morning, Norman.
Good morning. Greetings from Washington, D.C. Today, we're getting closer to our 4th of July holiday, which will be commemorated by the 250-year anniversary. And we have a heat wave coming. Starting today, extreme heat is expected through the weekend. And we're looking at having several hundred thousands of people in the mall celebrating this milestone for the United States. So the Qatar meeting scheduled for today, there's conflicted information coming out. Normal from Iran has one version and the United States has another version. There's supposed to be a meeting today in Qatar to discuss the continuation of the peace agreement and the MOU description and how we want to move forward. There appeared to be a conflict. The president is stating that we are scheduled to meet with the Iranians today, Qatar, and it's going to be ushered in by the Pakistanians. And the Iranians are stating that no such meeting has been scheduled, confirmed, or accepted. So here we go again. Yes and no, back and forth. Yes, it's on. No, it's not on. But a meeting is supposed to be scheduled today, so we will see the outcome of that. Will there be any type of discussions or just another day more of the same old stuff? So we are now going into another day regarding the Venezuela issue.
Right.
As of today, we still have no confirmed coordination of response in terms of dealing with this disaster. There is speculation there'll be thousands of people losing their life or have lost their life, and family members are concerned. The hospitals are inundated, the resources are coming, and as you know, time is moving forward. So with time moving forward, the likelihood of survival is becoming very bleak and very dismal. So the people in Venezuela are stating that they expect more from the government in regards to their safekeeping and response. They're very upset about that. And one of the names that's popping up is the United States. Since the United States disrupted their government, took their leaders out,
Right.
causing all this stuff, they should bear some of the responsibility of the recovery and putting things back in place. The United States has deployed or in the process of deploying rescue teams, but the issue is people are not happy with the outcome. Matter of fact, there was a story about 100 people deported from the United States just the days before, and they was in a hotel which collapsed, and they are missing. So this story becomes us more deep, more saddened. And as we move forward with different things in the world, we have to come back that Mother Nature is still out there, and there is more things to that will happen, and we have to focus more on basically how do we mitigate and protect the people. Because without that, none of this really matters much. We have to worry about the next, our neighbor and how we deal with our neighbor, and all this other stuff is a secondary seat as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Very interesting opening regarding this worldwide issues as well as Venezuela. As you mentioned about a hotel, I've done some of the research. The Hotel Edwards was a 10-story building situated in northern Caracas, and what happened was immediately when the earthquake struck, it has fallen and people are still buried under the rubble, with the death toll approaching 719, and it's still ongoing. But I want to focus more on the NATO summit that is coming ahead without not giving any importance to Venezuela. But we will discuss Venezuela. Coming to the studio with Ali Ahmed, you are hearing Norman Floyd Barnes opening up the discussion regarding various avenues. And July, the month of July is very important to see how the geopolitical calendar shall play out. 4th of July, as he was mentioning, is going to be a national holiday in the United States. In comparison, in Iran, we will be seeing the very funeral of the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as according to the social media. I want to get your comment regarding this. Also, how you see the German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul and the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio shaking hands at the State Department yesterday ahead of the talks with NATO. We know that previously the US administration and NATO had a rift regarding Greenland, regarding when the conversation swiftly turned towards Greenland. I just want to get your comment where you left off previously and how you're seeing the world today.
Well, in my opinion, there has not been much of a shift in the world opinion. To start with this handshake, some of these are just for the camera, for the photograph. These are not coming from the heart. Germany, because of its post-war situation and during the smashing of the entire German people during the Second World War, is such a great trauma that they are not being able to come out of it. So they have to play a friendly game with the US. But nobody in Europe seems to be friendly with US. So this, in my opinion, is just a show. But then again, you have the NATO in Europe, while you have Ali Khamenei's funeral. Funeral for them is a big thing. The departure of their great leader by the entire community, not just Iran, the whole Shia community. It is their leader's funeral. So it is a very sad day for them. It's going to be very sad, painful and unforgettable. And they are going to have NATO meeting. They could have had it elsewhere, but then it does not matter. They want to show off that you are doing it and we are doing it. And the others, I don't mean Turkey, those who have decided, especially the Secretary General and the NATO big bosses, they want to sort of a counter show. But these are two different shows. Everyone now knows that NATO is not what it appeared to be in the 60s of this century. NATO is not together again. And Germany has also said on many occasions about the uselessness of NATO. Therefore, it is a show, but I think it's more of a show than a reality.
Of course, a very interesting take regarding NATO. Before I can go to a break, I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes a very important question. We know previously NATO has asked all of its member nations to increase its defense spending. Today, we see a nation like Germany, ever since the World War II, ever since the Reich had ended, we see today a certain move away from car manufacturing towards more of a bomb building. This signals a very drastic times up ahead, when we see nations such as Germany focusing once again on their military defense budget. We know for a fact the US has increased its military budget well over $1 trillion. So I want to ask Norman, the hot mess is only becoming more messier and definitely contracting more temperature. I want to just ask you, is this a signal, should leaders at NATO once again signal the multilateralism between the various nations? Norman.
Yes, I definitely concur that nations, as a result of world events and what's happening right now, reconsider their position in NATO, reposition, more importantly, their policies in their own national defense. Uh, Countries like Germany would now have to understand that the United States is basically weaning itself off of the bottle. We're looking at empowering the countries of NATO to basically protect themselves, give them the resources, give them the actual space, give them the opportunity and the technology to create their own defenses and basically not be so dependent on the United States. The United States has a lot of issues that we are dealing with on the Western side, and of course now with this endless war in the Persian Gulf area. Europe has to and NATO has to deal with their situation in a more personal and more responsible manner. So yes, you will see is recommended. I'm pretty sure the discussion will be talked about how NATO can empower themselves and not be so reliant on one source to carry the weight. So
Right.
Don't be surprised if you see certain things occur. Countries step up and say, "Hey, we're going to increase our military. We're going to increase our supply of weapons, technology, and we are basically going to create new partnerships with we so-called some of the so-called enemies to avoid the future." So we're learning. The world is learning. You know, this energy thing has taught us a great lessons, and also uh, we are now learning from what's happening right now that we cannot continue and go back to something that is basically antiquated and basically doesn't fit the way the multipolar world is moving forward. So progress is the name of the game. Process of doing that, and countries, emerging countries like Bangladesh should take notes and basically avoid some of these pitfalls that we had before. So we have to create a whole new blueprint, a whole new plan on dealing with how we associate with each other globally.
Of course, excellent remarks once again from Norman Floyd Barnes, especially regarding the NATO summit and how leaders should respond in this modern world. We've seen 3 months and more of confrontations between the US and Iran, and it took multiple nations to come to make sure that they came to the negotiation table even after 120 days of fighting. And at the NATO summit, it's very deliberately placed in Ankara, Turkey, and Turkey is a member of NATO with a very lucrative armed weapons and manufacturing capacity in that very own nation. So let's see how and when, what kind of long-term support they will be able to provide for Ukraine and any kind of war nexus around the world. With that being said, it is time to take a short commercial break. Afterwards, we will look at some of the issues stemming from Venezuela, as we cannot ignore some of the plight of some of these people, that their government is not responding in due time. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned for more on this very program. On SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with presidency of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs? Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you all back on International Affairs. Today I'm joined with Ali Ahmed here in the studio, as well as Norman Floyd Barnes will be joining in Zoom from Washington, District of Columbia. I want to also change the topic of discussion with Norman. There has been a rift alongside Donald Trump and the Supreme Courts. There has been sweeping presidential authority in independent regulators. That is one of those issues. Liberal justices find conservative allies, much to Trump's dismay, as well as other issues such as Trump's defamation appeal quietly flopping around. I want to ask Norman a very simple question. We are only weeks away from the midterm election, and we also know that the Israeli government has also dissolved the Knesset government, the Knesset parliament. But coming back, focusing the relationship between the Supreme Court and U.S. President Donald Trump. What do you have to say? We've seen past presidents of the United States meeting up at a very popular presidential center opening. You were there in the attendance as well. That actually shows a very inclusive community of previous leaders. They do not see the dismay of the U.S. As a nation, but they only come to the table for the collective ideology. Of course, Donald Trump wasn't in attendance, and this is why I want to ask you this recent rift between the Supreme Court and, of course, POTUS, the President of the United States of America. Norman, how are you seeing these issues?
Your question is one that brings a lot of energy to the point that as we see the Trump administration explain itself or describe itself or what they want to do, the elected officials are responding to what the people are saying. The people are not very happy with the way the current administration is doing and running business. The Supreme Court is supposed to be the guiding hand, the group of wise officials to help leverage and govern the Constitution. Even though a large amount of these judges are appointed by the current president, they are still professionals. They still see and evaluate world events, what's going on, the mood of the country. Their only allegiance is to the Constitution. not to the president, even though it points that it may appears that they side with him, but basically it's the Constitution. So as we move forward, you're going to see the gap, the separation from their relationship. There's assumption that the Trump administration will get favors by the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court and the oath that they take, the judges, the Supreme Court, they are more focused on the future of America, where we're going, and based on the temperament of the people and how the trends in the world are moving. So you're going to see a lot of separation between now and the midterms, and even after that, as we move forward. Judges are going to basically have to evaluate exactly, does it fit? Does it move? Does it increase? Does it enhance the growth of the United States? And does it protect the principle? Particularly now when the 250-year experiment is now being tested again. So the judges are now is going to basically, they said, not change that way. They're going to go back to what they know and what they feel is necessary for the future. And it may not be what the president and administration wishes. And that will be a conflict that is something you have to deal with. Right is right, wrong is wrong at the end of the day. So yes, we can make a lot of changes. There will be a lot of short-term victories, but the overall victory, the overall thing is basically the people will and the Constitution. So I sense that the judges are now coming to terms that they have a duty, and they will uphold that duty in the Constitution, and the United States will have to adjust to this battle between the courts and the current administration. But in the end, it will all work out. It will balance out. The current administration will have to adjust to the rules of the land and also the rules of the world. Like I said, we're in a multipolar world, and you have to recognize that you can't stay in a vacuum and assume that your way is the only way. We have to understand that if you don't evolve, you will dissolve.
Right. As Norman was stating regarding the Supreme Court, regarding Donald Trump's administration and how they have been moving with the Supreme Court in the face of the people, and of course understanding the temperament of the people, I want to turn to Ali Ahmed here in the studio. I will give you some examples in which the Supreme Court favors Donald Trump, in which we see betterment, but then there are some cases that it doesn't. According to last Monday, the Supreme Court has given Donald Trump a sweeping new authority over approximately 24 multi-member agencies that Congress intended to be independent. By a vote of 6-3, the justices struck down a federal law that bars the president from firing members of the Federal Trade Commission, except in cases of inefficiency, neglect of duty, or maleficence in office. That is a moment where Donald Trump administration gets open freeway from the Supreme Courts. On the other hand, we see some of the defamation and sexual abuse cases with E. Jean Carroll. The case was that Trump appealed a jury verdict finding him liable for abusing and defaming advice columnist E. Jean Carroll in the 90s and in 2022. The outcome, the Supreme Court declined to hear this appeal, exhausting his legal avenues to overturn the $5 million civil judgment. Trump faces a separate appeal regarding an additional $83.3 million damages won by Carroll. It is safe to say that wherever the Congress fails to assert its dominant role, this is where the Supreme Court takes over. And this is not a new conversation. It has been a conversation in progress as of today. I just want to ask you, sir, given the facts that I have just presented, how are you seeing Donald Trump's grip on United States of America?
Well, historically, we have seen that in these midterm elections, normally the party in power does have a lesser representation, some reduction in the membership, etc. That is the traditional history of the Senate and other houses. In this case, Donald Trump's relation with the people, with the Senate, with other members, and also with the judiciary particularly, has been very bitter. He has been, in his own cases where he was accused, he has been very bitter in uttering very nuisanceable words about the sitting judges, telling them, throw him out, throw her out, and all those words very openly. It came in the press, and we have not seen any contradiction from the Donald Trump side. That means he admitted that he said those things. So in this way, nearly over the last 1 year, the judiciary in the United States in general is deeply against him. Not that they are going to do something illegal, but lawfully they can do a lot of things which they perhaps will. As I was watching some of the talk shows last night and the night before, the greatest political pundits in the US and outside, they are very, I should say, hopeless about Donald Trump. They think that Donald Trump is going to lose this midterm by a very big margin. That will reduce his the thin majority that he has now in the Senate will be there, and he will have very bad time with the rest of his term with the Senate. But besides that, some other cases are coming also. It's in the process. Some may lead to even criminal proceedings, which might see President Donald Trump behind the bars. That will not be ruled out so easily. So days for him, even besides these few months, are not very good. He may be the only president, I'm not sure, only court knows that what happens, we will see. But he may be the only president so far in the 250-year-old American history who might find himself behind the bars after some cases.
Of course. Excellent remarks from Ali Ahmed as well. This, of course, shows the beauty of justice being served to every individual, and every individual inside the United States, as well as this world, is not above the law. The law catches up with those who try to bend it to their will, as I see it as well. It's time to take a very short commercial break. Afterwards, we look at Venezuela. We also look at some of the upsets in the World Cup in the stage of 32 as we are approaching this round of 16. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned as we are going to look towards these two issues. This global world.
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken
Welcoming our viewers back on International Affairs. At this point in time, we must discuss some of Mother Nature's doings that have caused great humanitarian significance, especially with Venezuela. Turning to Norman Floyd Barnes very shortly. Norman, how are you seeing this situation? The government of Venezuela is an interim government. It is not an elected one. As I recall some of the governmental issues in that nation, they have run out of oil, and every now and then we were hearing that they would face energy crisis. Today it's a humanitarian crisis taking place. Just your very short comment. On the other side, the National Weather Service and the National Weather Prediction Center has stated that much of the United States will be facing a prolonged dangerous heat wave. What are you assessing, especially regarding the heat wave, and how do you see it? We are approaching the 2,000 death toll mark in Venezuela. Norman.
Yes, the weather is a big factor in how we live, and every time we think we have other things in place, Mother Nature kicks in. So we're looking at extreme heat waves supposed to hit the United States, particularly here on the East Coast, particularly actually here in Washington. We're expecting high temperatures to start as early as today. And with this in place, we can almost, particularly now with people coming to Washington to celebrate the 250-year anniversary of the United States, there will be large groups of people, and there will be big issues regarding their hydration, basically water. So how we manage that is going to be also a big issue. And across the country, you know, we still have people without air conditioners living in the United States. They don't have proper air conditioning. And they can't afford it. And there's going to be a need for relief stations throughout the country in regarding this heat, just like you have it in Europe. Germany, other places are dealing with the heat. So there's a whole global issue. Venezuela, same thing. They're not immune because of the earthquake. The heat is coming on this earth. And the concern I have is basically, what is the response? What is the plan to deal with all of these issues around the globe? Earthquakes, we're going to have tsunamis, we're going to have other related weather, wind issues, rain, flooding. All these things are happening. At the same time, we are basically trying to deal with the Middle East energy crisis, where another crisis is developing is basically how do we deal with nature. And we're looking at hundreds of thousands of people going to be affected by this. So what is our response? You know, particularly, when you invade, I'm going with Venezuela, you assume some responsibility. I mean, you disrupt a sovereign country, and you go in there and you disrupt their government. There's confusion. They do not know exactly who's been running stuff. Yeah, we have someone in place, but they don't have a plan, a structure, and the people are expecting more. So here we go again. We go from issue, we create another issue. We create wars, we're creating conflicts, but the afterthought is the people suffer. We're still dealing with Palestine, Gaza, other places. Everywhere we're going. Now we got Lebanon. Now we got issues. People need food in the Middle East, Iran. All these places that the current administration is basically stretching or attacking. There's a problem after that. There's a big gap. There's something you have to learn to take responsibility for your actions. You can't go in and disrupt something and
Of course, as Norman was stating that we can't go in and disrupt the livelihoods of millions worldwide. Today, we've seen how Gaza has been infiltrated, attacked and bombarded. Much of the world is now facing the very same crisis. We look at Lebanon as the same situation. We look at Venezuela, not in a war, not in a confrontation, but Mother Nature's forces have turned much of Venezuela and the northern areas into a warlike situation, with rubble still over millions of people and are still missing. Turning to the studio with Ali Ahmed. just your very short comment regarding the global warming situation. Europe, Leipzig of Germany has to close its tram tracks because the tracks have melted. This year we are seeing more heat in the Middle East than in Europe. So it's quite the drastic effects of global warming coming to play. With the World Cup being held in the United States of America, the US is going towards a heat wave, as mentioned by Norman, as various sources online. I just want to ask you how you're seeing this world warming situation. Alongside, there has been very big upsets in the FIFA World Cup. Let me just read it out for you. Germany and the Netherlands are eliminated after losing on penalties to Paraguay and Morocco respectively. Germany had never before lost a penalty shootout at the World Cup, while Paraguayans have been granted a national holiday to commemorate their win. I want to just give it to you, and the very last segment, global warming.
It's the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
For the last at least 10 years, the way we should handle it, it is unavoidable. There would be warming, but they wanted to ameliorate. They wanted that it is lessened. And that is why there was said to be a limit on consumption of fuel, fossil fuel, and reduction and replacement by other means, non-fuel, etc. But some world leaders like Donald Trump and certain others like the extra right-wing people, they have not listened to it, and so it's coming. When it comes, it does not spare anyone, and they do not believe it. They say it is a story, but it is not. We see how global warming is going up, up. Another 1 degree and Bangladesh would be below, most of it would be below water. Maldives would be below water. These are the scientific facts. Well, America may not be below the earth, but most of it will be. And the cyclones, tsunamis, and all those things that America has been facing every year should be warning enough. Donald Trump is sitting in a place where it does not affect, but his own residence in Mar-a-Lago is also battered sometimes. So they should understand, these big leaders. There is no other way. It's only nature can help us if we help ourselves. And the other thing, the worldwide also, it's not only when there is warmth or the global warming goes up, the more of earthquakes, more of tsunamis, these things will come, and this will lead to more of destruction, of killing of human beings, destruction not only of human lives, of materials and other things. So it is time that the naysayers really listen to the scientists' forecast and do something together to lessen the effects of global warming.
Right. And I also wanted to get just a very short comment, if you're keeping up with the World Cup as well. We see some great big nations coming out. Netherlands kicked out. Germany also removed from this World Cup, as well as Japan losing out to Brazil. How optimistic do you think this World Cup is, especially in the face of entertainment?
This World Cup is now like our unpredictable tsunamis this time. Who is finally going to win the World Cup is very uncertain now. Previously you would say,
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panto.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan.
International Affairs. I thank you for your patience, your time and your contributions. I also thank Norman Floyd Barnes for joining us from Washington District of Columbia. I want to end by stating that today is June the 30th. Of course, today is the last day of the month. It also signifies World Social Media Day. It is an annual global awareness festival celebrated every year on June the 30th to recognize the impact of communication.
Our national budget is also passed today.
Okay, as well as Ali Ahmed stating that the national budget shall be passed today. As I was saying, that the World Social Media Day is focusing on the impact of communication, culture, business, education and civic engagement around the world. Started in 2010, the day is celebrated through online campaigns, educational talks, networking events and conversations about both the opportunities and challenges of digital platforms. With that being stated, I am signing out on International Affairs. I shall be with you all on tomorrow's episode.